Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew,
My name is Emily.
and we are discussing the 1977-1978 CBS, we think,
I think. I forget.
sitcom Quark, created, quote unquote, by Buck Henry. And we are on episodes 6 and 7. It's a two-parter entitled
All the Emperor's quasi-norms, one. Two, it's actually NBC.
NBC. Okay.
Bing, bing, bing.
And yes, so we're discussing a two-parter, which guest stars Joan Van Ark, who's one of the first names in the guest star cast that I've recognized since Kirstie Alley was unbilled. There's another guest star who
Ross Martin,
who
Played a bad-
shockingly okay for the show.
really?
You didn't like
Played
him?
a baddie. He was fine.
I mean, he came off a little bit like they didn't Dom DeLuise it. I appreciate they didn't Dom DeLuise it. How about that? How about we say that? But he's also
He had surprisingly little to work with, considering he was a baddie.
I mean, I think one could argue having more to work with on Quark is not necessarily a good thing. I'd be curious to see how many more sitcoms Joan Van Ark guest starred on before she was just like, fine, I'll just wear a nightie every week on Dynasty or something. Like,
I loved what Joan Van Ark was wearing in this episode. It reminded me of the 1999 music video for Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue.
Very cool. And I'm sure you would tell Joan Van Ark you would respect her in the morning, as is the title of our episode.
I would respect her in the morning.
Okay. Ficus was told he wouldn't by Quark, our hero.
Well, it was a different time.
All right.
I have so much I could piss you off with politics this week, but we're not talking about politics on this podcast.
No, this is a refuge from reality. Not that much. We're not pretending this is a good show. Okay. The adventure actually does not start on the space station.
On the space station for the first time.
Ever, I think.
Amazing. Yeah.
I was very, I don't know if impressed. I was bewildered. Like, what's going to happen? And what apparently happened was Joan Van Ark was like, I want SAG minimum. And they were like, well, shit, then we can't shoot most of our scenes. Sorry, or something. To be honest, no. This had a lot of special effects, a lot of new...
Some stunts. Adam Quark, I think in the second episode, the second part, he does a tuck and roll.
We could have...
Or a stunt person does.
Yes. The connectedness of the episodes, we probably could have done them over 2 weeks. But Emily just watched it, so she's going to remember everything that happens.
Yeah.
There's a lizard man at one point, I remember. And then there is some sex positivity that Emily is going to lecture us on. Maybe do a TED Talk about the practices of the Vegetoid or whatever. So it's also an interesting one because it's very interesting, quote unquote. They've got a lot of Star Trek in it, including like, do they say the Final Frontier or something? They say something.
I don't know. But there's also a little bit of Star Trek with the
little. I was going to say a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah. Star Wars.
No, not even that. Star Wars. The trash compactor.
The trash compactor. Yep.
But our bad guy, played by Ross Martin, is dressed up like Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon. But this is Flash Gordon. So no doubt Dino De Laurentiis was sitting around with his wife or whoever wanted to fuck Sam Jones and was like, you know what? This is a good show. You should do this as a movie.
Hey, don't fuck with Flash Gordon. You know my thoughts on Brian Blessed. You will never tear him down from the pedestal on
It
which I
is
have him.
so weird how many pictures of your husband you sent me dressed like Brian Blessed and Flash Gordon. Like, the first one was when he was asleep, which I got, but now he's awake, and it's just a lot. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
it's a
I
lot,
know.
and like those little old man legs, because as everyone knows, Mr. Emily's in his septuagenarian.
He
Um,
is not a septuagenarian. Oh, I thought I had a fun Flash Gordon t-shirt to show you, but I don't.
oh, okay. Just a fucking blessed's cod piece, just right up close. And the arms are legs. Oh, I think I've got our next T-shirt for the shop. Onesespod.com. Nobody's gonna sue me over that. Nobody's gonna be like, actually, you can't make that T-shirt. That's nope. We're doing it.
Actually, what my t-shirt is, it's Brian Blessed, his character from that, which I forget the name. Just his big old head and his mouth, like in the laugh that you could hear just imagining it. He's just this big old head. It's the best in the world. I love it. I need to wear it more often.
But we're not talking about Flash Gordon,
No,
Brian
we're not
Blessed.
talking about Flash Gordon.
We're
Damn
talking
it.
about Quark.
We're
So Quark's mission. So yeah, we have since the second episode, since like the first second pilot, he's been doing that thing where he gets the briefing with the three other pilots,
Mhm.
or the three other captains who get the exciting missions. There's don't well, they started with that and then they changed it. But this one, his mission, he gets it from the head on the view screen,
Yeah.
which I found interesting. And his mission is to go visit this ship to not intercept, but rendezvous with a ship that's returning from like a 27-year mission and to get all of its garbage.
Yeah.
And so it starts, the assignment starts with Quark thinking it's going to be a big diplomatic mission. And then it's just he's going to be taking out the garbage. Now, we've seen Quark's ship. We've had some sense of how big it is compared to garbage bags. We are not, I believe the only shot with it in another ship is repeat footage from episode 2 of the series. Maybe, yes, the
Maybe.
long one. I think it's just repeat footage of it being tractor beamed up. But um, the idea that he would have enough room to collect all the garbage for 27 years. Also, why do you have a space garbage collector?
For the good of the universe, you can't just leave it scrape space garbage up
Where,
there. They're
right,
not
where,
they're presumably hundreds, if not thousands of years removed from present day, where we have tons of space garbage just floating around.
where do they put the garbage when they're done? Where does Quark put the garbage? We've never established this. Couldn't they just shoot the garbage into a sun?
They could. Maybe
Yeah.
they do.
Well, I feel like that would be easier if you were on a 27-year mission to just drop it in the sun on your way instead of waiting for Quark. Because as we will soon discover, Quark does not do this mission. Instead, they start chasing a ship because it doesn't identify them. And Gene is like, you've got to be a tough guy. And it's an unidentified ship. So they follow the ship, discover that it's vastly outpowers them. It starts chasing them, eventually capturing them.
Yes. And
And
then we find out like later that um for whatever reason, Quark's ship disappears. So, so Palindrome and the people who are tracking him don't know where he is
yeah.
at this point.
So yes, I mean they do get tractor beamed up. So I mean, that is sort of the question. If they had the technology to be able to identify Quark's ship in the expanses of space, it seems weird it'd be so easily jammed. Though that is a frequent plot point, is the other ship is jamming them. Now, had these folks been watching their Star Trek, they would have thought to eject a communication buoy, which I believe has been in Star Trek canon since the original series. Okay. So they get on the ship and discover that they have been taken prisoner by
Gorgons.
Gorgons.
Zorgon the Gorgon.
Zorgon the Gorgon, who is not the guy we met in episode 2,
Mm-mm.
might be his half brother, because this guy is the half brother of the High Gorgon, who might have been who we met. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like it comes up like 2 or 3 times in the exposition. Every time it's like, well, is this guy going to get here? Nope. Doesn't matter. I don't even remember how this ends. So they are in trouble. I mean, Quark keeps on trying to demand their release. The Gorgon just laughs at them, and is like, well, how about instead I just have you killed? But then Joan Van Ark comes in and is like, hey, we're going to do the trope about I mean, I don't even know what you call them, the Black Widow daughter of the ruler that goes back, no doubt, to who was Jezebel's father in the Bible. Like, so she falls for Ficus.
She falls for Ficus. So she tries at first putting the moves on Adam Quark. But what we discover is that he is a little too receptive. So when she puts the moves on Ficus, and because he's a plant,
Vegeton. Yeah.
a Vegeton, yes, thank you. He doesn't respond. She is HOTTOGO. She is ready to mount that plant. Not understanding that he is not human and will not respond to her in the same way as a human would. But yes, she is instantly taken with him. And God, can I just mention really quickly, because we don't have a lot to talk about with the Bettys? It's pretty disappointing that there's not a lot to talk about with the Bettys in this. Essentially, their only role in this series of episodes, these 2 episodes, is to confirm to Ficus that Joan Van Ark has, or Empress Libido, we skipped her name, that she is attracted to him. That's pretty much the only use they have this episode, which is endlessly disappointing.
I mean, yes, but as is the show. We also are skipping over all the times that Quark is narrating and staring directly into the camera, which happens quite a bit in the first half of the 2-parter. I don't remember if it happens in the second half as much, but in the first half. And we're not wasting our time with close-ups on this anymore. It'll just be in the middle of a scene, and Quark will look at the camera.
Ficus, at one point, Ficus was talking, and you could hear him talking, but not over the voiceover. Like, they didn't even, I mean, they muted him a little bit, but it was Quark staring into the camera while Ficus was talking to him, and you could hear them both talking at the same time. That might have been the point where I checked out, because that's too much for me. Only one white man at a time can talk around me, please.
I remember when I was like, yeah, I've heard that Quark show from the 70s is good. Maybe I'll watch that someday.
I think it was good if you were a child in the 70s.
Children, Emily, are not intelligent creatures.
Oh, they're learning and growing. Their little brains are making connections. Come on.
Okay. So I didn't say that they weren't learning. I didn't say they weren't getting more intelligent. I just simply said they are not intelligent creatures. So, especially probably not in the 70s. We can go back and watch Freaks and Geeks and all the things where it's like, oh shit, that aged great. That's just from 2000. Okay, so Zorgon is going to talk to Quark. He sends everybody away and he talks to Quark for a bit. What makes no sense in that is Joan Van Ark's hot to trot for Ficus. But when she gets Daddy not to kill them all, he keeps Quark around, which makes sense in the sense that Quark's the captain, but doesn't make sense in what we've been watching. We then have a jailbreak sequence which involves them short circuiting the door with Andy
Hmm.
the android's something or other. So we get a lot of whining, Andy the android. Was it more whining than in the second episode? I don't know.
Yes.
It
Yeah, I
was
think it
okay.
was.
Okay.
Maybe it's recency bias, but it was a lot of whining.
It was a lot of whining, and also he doesn't like talk in the first scene he's in, so it's like not clear how big of a part he's going to have. He'll have a relatively significant part, though I think he sort of disappears at the end of the
Yeah.
two-parter of the second episode. Okay, so they're in a jail cell. They escape the jail cell. Gene and Andy are going to go back to the ship and try to save. Have we gotten into the it stuff yet, or is that coming up?
That's
Okay.
when they're in the trash compactor.
That's when everybody else is in it. Well, oh, that's right. Oh, okay. So, well, they get recaptured, except for Gene and Andy. And they get, oh, God, I forgot about their subplot.
Yeah, they're
Their
stupid,
room
stupid subplot.
starts getting trash compactory like in Star Wars, just without any accoutrement. And Quark either requests to be taken back to Zorgon or he's called back to Zorgon. And Zorgon's like, where is it? And Quark's like, I don't know what it is. And he's like, well, I'm going to squish your friends if you don't tell me what it is.
And there's too much back and forth. There's too
Just,
much back and forth here. Just like, no, you need to tell me where it is. You're a spy. And he's like, I'm a trash man. He's like, no, you're a spy. Tell me where it is. And it like goes back and forth like it felt like 10 times. It's way too many times. And of course, in the end, to save his friends, Quark lies and says, yes, I know exactly what it is. But this like idea of like this MacGuffin, I guess, having a vague name, it was the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard in my life, and I hated it. Gnug. I hated
seriously,
the first part of it. I hated this first episode where wasn't clear what was going on, and they kept referring to it as it. Blah 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 blah. I fucking hated it. But the crew gets released, and then the heat is on Quark to reveal what it is or where it is to Zorgon. And he says it's on some asteroid somewhere. They're going to go get it.
yeah. And so,
Oh, and there's a lot of vague threats like, you'd better be right or you're dead. Just a lot of like, I'm going to kill you if you're wrong. But it's not very menacing. That's why I thought he was bad. Like, it was all pretty generic bad guy stuff. Give me what you want or I'm going to kill you. But it wasn't even like, like there was not even any cheesiness to it. Like, I think if he had been a little cheesy, it would have been even better. Whatever.
so I believe this is when they go back to the cell and they're like, and Quark's like, all right, so he's going to make me be in the on the bridge. We need to have a phaser there. So, Ficus, you're going to go seduce Joan Van Ark.
Yeah.
This is where we get Emily's scene that you really like, where the Bettys show the boys what human female desire is like. And so
That wasn't my favorite scene.
they just embrace them and breathe heavy on them. And
Sounds like a
we,
dirty phone call.
yeah.
It really was really bad.
And then we don't get any of Quark's like clone stuff. Oh, there is a lot with Gene in the first part with not a lot, but the end of their throne room, their first bridge, not debriefing, interrogation. Gene reverts to the female side and it freaks out Zorgon so much he's ready to kill them all. So
Yeah.
Quark has to talk him down. It's just,
It's pretty gross.
yeah. But then, yeah, so we get the girls showing Ficus when exactly, because what they're trying to determine is when exactly you should ask her for the phaser, when you should ask her to betray her father. And
Right.
it's, you got to do it when she's turned on to X amount. And so they're trying to show them that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
there's like creepy cut to Quark like getting all hot and bothered because one of the Bettys is
yeah.
latched onto his neck, just breathing heavily and moaning.
So then it's like, all right, I've got it. I'm gonna get going. Goes to the door to tell the guard to get Joan Van Ark. Quark goes over, drops some of that philosophy Emily is such a fan of. Um, and Quark's like, hey, Ficus, one more thing. And don't let the Bettys hear me say this.
Oh yeah.
Tell her that you'll respect her in the morning. So that's cool. That's a cool show Emily picked out for us. A lot of good values for us to for 7-year-old boys to latch on to, actually. Yeah, when you think about it. There you go. So Ficus goes off and meets Joan Van Ark. He tries seducing her, but he barely. His seduction attempt is saying, I'll respect you in the morning.
Yeah.
She tries to get him going. They make out. He doesn't seem to respond to that. And finally, she's just like, well, what do you like? And he's like, I'm a vegeton. We lay on our back and stick up our extremities and wait for the bee. And then they make noises while they do that. And the dad catches them.
Yes.
So who
Is it the
Joan
dad who catches them? Or does the dad catch him later?
the dad catches them before Ficus even asks about the gun. So it's
Okay.
foiled ahead of time with the gun. And then Ficus disappears for a bit. He's just somewhere on the ship. We probably establish, yes, because it's in the recap in the next one. Oh, God. Gene, meanwhile,
Mm. He's
has
been tasked with doing some kind of scientific briefing with scientists about it.
because he knocked out a scientist and put on his outfit.
Right.
And he's got Andy with him, and Andy's like making fun of him. And that is like his cliffhanger is that he's going to go give a TED talk about this subject to the evil Zorgon scientists.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember what the cliffhanger really is. They get sent down to the planet. Um,
I don't remember
so
either. Oh, to
Zorgon,
find it, right?
well, no, because Zorgon's gonna like kill him, or he promises he wouldn't kill him. So instead of gonna transfer him to the planet and let the planet kill him or something, I don't know. We do, I believe, find out what it is, which is
Like
the
a
align.
crystal.
It well, no, we find out what it is in the second one, but in the first one, they talk about it in very metaphysical terms about the alignment of the stars and things like that. And
Yeah, so
so it's
crystals.
cool. Healing crystals for your chakra. Stop. We're not having Goop sponsor the podcast, Emily. All right.
I've already been on with Gwyneth Paltrow's people.
I know,
And
and
now
I
you,
keep saying no.
and now you're telling me no?
I'm telling you no. No Goop.
Why?
You know what happened to the I
What? The
forgot what
jade
it's called.
eggs?
You're not allowed to promote the jade eggs anymore, Emily. The court order
Um,
stands. God, did they like promote those in line with what's that fucking show? Game of Thrones? I don't know.
no. No.
Dragon eggs were such a big thing on that show. I bet they did. I bet they fucking did.
They still
Uh
sell the jade eggs, by the way.
cool.
Ugh.
Not
Just
not
looking
anymore.
at it, like it just looks like an egg
Yep.
and it's shiny,
Yep.
but just knowing what you're supposed to do with it makes me like shudder
Mm.
in a good way. Just kidding. It's
Okay.
gross.
They're not until no promotion until they send the check in. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we then somehow get to the second half of the two-parter. They're on the planet. It's the ship lands on the planet. The giant Zorgon ship has apparently landed on the planet. We do not see that. We also
No,
do not see Quark and the ship in the same shot during the chase
no.
sequences. No. And the tractor beam footage is probably a repeat. So we're now just on the planet. Quark. It's Quark, the Bettys, and that's it. Because Ficus is with,
Because Ficus is with the lady or
yep,
on the
and
ship,
he's on the
and
ship
then
still.
Jean and Andy are together doing their TED talk.
Yes, and so we get this recap, and we're missing stuff about Palindrome being in trouble with the head because Quark missed it, and so he's in trouble with the
Yeah.
head. There in the second half, there's is it in the second half the little furry thing has a lengthy scene where it's like
Yeah, it's
beeping.
yeah, Palindrome is upset because he's in trouble with the head, and the little furry guy, little cousin it looking motherfucker, is following him around, beep bop booping, and Palindrome just is setting boundaries. He can't talk about this little guy's emotional problems because he's going to get fired, and he's got to go manage that situation. Stupid. And he manages that situation by what? Calling his daddy saying,
Who's
"Daddy, what
played
do I
by the
do?"
same guy. Played
Just
by the
played by the
same
same
guy in the makeup.
guy with like, I mean, I don't even think he's got makeup. I think he's just got like powder in his hair to make it look white, like really bad. And the dad says, "You need to do what every palindrome has ever done, beg." And it's like, ugh, because he's a weenie bureaucrat, right? He's just a weenie who got to his position because his dad was in the position and whatever. Who cares? He's such a weenie. I'm so sick of weenies. Um, and yeah, so that scene with the little guy did take longer than it needed to. Everything in this is a little bit drawn out.
It's very unclear why this needed to be a two-parter. Like,
Yeah,
even though they go down to the planet, they fight a lizard man, they meet some other guy who is basically like a Flash Gordon planet guy, like because he's in semi-night outfit, and they're there to protect it or some shit like that, or they're there to find it and they don't know where it is. But the guy's going to tag along with Quark and the Bettys until he doesn't anymore and pieces out and is like, I don't
yeah.
want to be on this show anymore. And I was like, this was a great time to stop watching this episode. Um, but I didn't do that, unlike that one time that Emily refused to finish watching that one episode of that great show about White Man's Burden, that we loved so much we didn't even finish.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't finish watching that Duck Patrol where the guy does the spraying of the I still need to make a
No,
poster of that for the shop. Okay.
no, the fucking, no, no. Those
Yes.
post credit sequences just, I couldn't listen to that fucking song anymore. But so
It's what David Tennant
back
plays every time he fucks. The Doug Patrol theme song.
oh, I'm his poor wife. Um but back on the Gorgon ship, uh Gene manages to talk his way out of his lecture and escape without being caught. Like
Yes.
the Wikipedia says that he impresses the scientists,
So
but he confuses them. He does not impress them.
he gets applause from all of them except for the guy who found him in the hallway. There is that at the very end. But you're leaving out the fact that this takes up 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We keep coming back to it. It's never funny. It's basically Gene saying something stupid about it, Andy saying it's stupid, the guy who found him in the hallway looking super confused, and everybody else that didn't get paid to talk sort of nodding along. It goes on forever. There's no point to it. It's never funny. I feel like Andy the android gives is a wonderful example of how robots can be terrible in
Mhm.
stuff because he can't do any, right? He just stands there and fucking whines. Like, it's not like he's voiced by Milton Berle or something. It's not like he's voiced by Don Rickles, right? It's just some fucking dude whining.
Oh man, a Rickles robot would be fucking hilarious.
Exactly. So And then, like, the joke is Tim Thomerson's got on glasses he can't see through. That's the joke.
Yeah, that's the
It's
joke. And so
so
they cut to
dumb.
him and he's looking around constantly because he can't see anything. And so he's like just trying to like see. It's like, yeah, it was stupid. It was really, really stupid, really bad.
Okay. So at some point during all this, Joan Van Ark rescues Ficus with a pulse rifle, independent of his plan to have her betray her father. She's just
Yes.
DTF so much. Like,
She's DTF so much that she brings some action to a female character in this television show. So I was, yeah, the maybe the writing, the intention was shitty, but it was nice to see a woman taking action, taking charge, and taking guns away from men and then shooting them. Like I was pleased to see that, despite the fact that she just wanted that guy's dick so bad.
but she didn't. She already knew about pollinating at this point. She just wanted those, I don't know,
She wanted that
bees.
emotionally unavailable man.
Yes. So is she the best female character on this show? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because she doesn't have to pretend to want to fuck Richard Benjamin. Paula Prentice's wife does the voice of Jean, the female Jean. I feel like they should have done a lot more with that, but they don't
Yeah.
because it's a bad
Yeah.
show. Um, so they find it, which turns out to be a crystal that gives its wearer invulnerability.
Yeah. And it's given to Richard Benjamin because he saved the planet from something.
Yeah, or something. And he's gonna go take out the Zorgon, the Gorgon with it.
Yeah.
They get back to the ship. The guy from the planet that's with them is like, "Hey, do you need me for this?" And they're like, "No." He's like, "Fuck off," and leaves. Um, we're then gonna get the somebody scans the stone, the crystal, and says there's nothing special about it.
Yeah.
But Quark's convinced it makes him invincible because somebody tries to laser him and it reflects back on the guy. And they're like, no, he just hit it at the exact right angle and it flashed and it hit him, which raises some questions about the lasers. That seems like a very big um, defect in their efficacy. Like, if all you need is some glass and the lasers don't work, it's kind of like Dune. We watched Dune over the weekend. Not recommended. Um, sadly,
Don't
I
worry.
sadly I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I'm a Dennis Villeneuve fan. I did like Enemy and I did like Prisoners, but Blade Runner. Mm, this. Hmm. Um, but there's a whole thing in that with the shields where they all have to use knives because it's an incel fantasy, but they have to do that because the shield laser they have shields that'll stop lasers or something. And it's just kind of like, why didn't you just fucking make better lasers, you idiots? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so they try to convince Quark he's not invincible. Quark's like, I'm fucking invincible. Of course I am. Okay, you watched it recently. What happens next?
He gets the Zorgon sends his way like a monster to defeat him. Um
Yes, they
and
make a big
and
deal out of that.
and it throws him around the room. This is where we get some stunts, but this is the weird thing. Clearly, Adam Quark does not understand invincibility because he's like, I don't know, he gets attacked in one way or another, and he's like, huh, that I can't possibly be in pain because I'm invincible. And I don't think that's what invincibility is. But he gets thrown across the room again, and suddenly, pew pew, the monster collapses, and at the door is Ficus and Empress Libido. And Ficus is like, of course you're not invincible, you ding dong dummy. Like, that's just a fucking rock. And there's like this really poorly executed, like, oh, I see, my belief in the rock was what made me invincible, not the actual rock itself. And Ficus is like, no, that's not it either. It was never invincible. And it explains, even though he wasn't there, like it reflected the laser off of you and, blah, 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 blah. But you had more courage, but you were not actually ever invincible.
There's a
And
scene.
go ahead. No, no, no.
I can't remember what it is, but it's pretty soon after he gets the rock where he's like, it makes me invincible. And he's just like, Rock, open this locked door.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not working. Maybe it isn't making me invincible. Okay, again, if this was for kids, it was helping make them keep them stupid, Emily, is what it was doing. It was not making them more intelligent. Sorry, because I know who you're thinking about right now who watched this show.
I don't care. I know he's not stupid.
Okay. Anyway, so wasn't Mr. Emily, everybody. He was already in his mid 70s by the time this came out, so he was not interested. He was not interested in this kind of nonsense. He's too busy getting his teeth replaced. Okay, so you think the audience would believe that we don't coordinate these bits? So then what happens? Does he like capture the Zorgon or whatever?
No, so what happens is that um Princess Libido or whatever the fuck her name is,
Oh, that's right.
she's like, all right, we're gonna go get married now. And Quark is like, wait, what? You can't get married, you've got to come with me. And he's like, I gave her my word that I would marry her. We skipped over that bit. I don't even
Yeah.
remember where it was. And Quark is like, well, I appreciate your, commitment as a vegeton. And they go and they get married against the wishes of Zorgon the Gorgon, but they do it anyway. And then he catches them pollinating again.
Oh,
And he comes in, Zorgon the Gorgon, and uses a freeze ray to shoot Ficus, but you know, she gets in the way and she ends up getting frozen. And I don't know how he escapes that. I don't remember.
he doesn't. He gets captured because because Quark is like captured this guy, but he still gets read the riot act by the Palindrome calls him a fuck up and stuff, even though he like has taken out the number 2 Zorgon in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Um, there's some of that wonderful, maybe not wonderful. How do you describe the misogyny you like so much in these old shows that you make me watch? Do you call it wonderful misogyny? I don't know. But Ficus is like, don't worry, it'll take her 7 years to unfreeze, and I will be waiting for her when she's done to fulfill my word. But I won't miss her in those 7 years, or something like that. Because, ladies, you gotta hate them. That's not a.
He doesn't hate her. He just doesn't have any emotions because he's a plant.
He does seem to like her more than he likes anybody that he's on the ship with. So there is that.
Maybe.
I get it. I
because
mean, Joan Van Ark's quite a bit better.
Here's the thing: if you wanna talk about like the misogyny, I mean, I know he's a white man, but I mean, they're othering him so much that somebody takes interest in him and what he likes. Of course, he's gonna like her better. Everybody else just calls him a freak, like almost literally calls him a freak.
Well, yes, and we've talked about it in the past that a lot of, I think it was even in the first or second episode that Quark is offered a starship and doesn't take and is not able to bring along the crew because they suck so much according to Palindrome, and you're like, look, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you've got a space station filled with people wearing modified Star Wars cantina masks.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I see that one. You put a couple fucking antlers on it or whatever, but it's just fucking a Star Wars cantina mask, you cheap bastards. But somehow Quark's people are the problem. And it's just very weird, especially since most of the time Quark's an idiot. And in this episode, he's an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
if the
And
show,
and here's the thing, they're all humanoids too. Like
yeah,
a lot of what we see on the space station, like you said, are like alien masks, but these are all humanoid things.
yeah, it makes
Very weird.
no sense because it's a
No.
bad show.
Yeah.
Um, that almost should be the tag. The show makes no sense because it's bad. The creative decisions are poor decision. And then it's over, right? Like,
They get back to the ship. He's discovered. Palindrome does not lose his job. Quark comes running enthusiastically to tell him about their adventures, and Palindrome isn't interested.
oh God, that's right. Oh God, that's right. Palindrome doesn't want to hear his mission debriefing about how he
Yeah.
fucking captured Gorgon the Zorgon. And you're just like, what do you mean you don't want to hear the debriefing on him bringing in the second most wanted space criminal, space pirate? Like,
Yeah.
what is even happening with this? Like, so then instead, Quark tells Beepity Bop, furry cousin it, about it, I think.
His name is Dink.
Whatever.
I just saw it on
That's
Wikipedia.
our next t-shirt. His name is Dink. Emily says his name is Dink is the next t-shirt after the Brian Blessed crotch with the sleeves being the legs. I got to work on that first. Then Emily says his name is Dink.
Yes. Thank you.
The limited edition Mr. Emily is a septuagenarian t-shirt is only going to one person.
Mr. Emily has a question for you. Off pod.
Oh, all right. What's next? Or
Next
actually,
is
what's
the
last?
final episode. You'll be so excited. It's
Oh, come on.
it's called Vanessa 382436. Andrew.
Why do you make me watch these shows? Okay. These are like the shows where if you came into school talking about them, like at the very least, some teachers would be in the lounge being like, hey, those little kids talking about that show, they're gonna be little pieces of shit, aren't they? And the other teacher's like, yep.
So
Rufinol hasn't been invented yet, but they're gonna pre-order. This is a
so
show.
it's
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
so it's a parody of various other sci-fi things, but I think most recognizably to me is 2001 about a computer, Vanessa 382436, who goes rogue and tries to murder him.
Well, I can't wait to see how justified Vanessa is because I bet she's going to be. I bet. Okay. Well, on our bingo card, is Andy going to sexually assault her like he did in the pilot episode?
Oh, well, okay. Thank you for watching this week with us, folks. Thank you for watching with me, Andrew. And next week, I will see you in television land.
See you in television land, Emily.